Welcome to Never Too Late for Fitness Radio, bringing baby boomers proven strategies and innovative products for getting fit, staying fit, so you can live a longer, healthier, and happier life. Here's your host, best-selling author and fitness advocate, Phil Ferris.
This is Phil Ferris, and welcome to our show. Never Too Late for Fitness Radio provides answers and straight talk about fitness, nutrition, and healthy lifestyles for people over 50. Our goal is to educate and advocate health and fitness strategies that help you to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. On some shows, we feature everyday people like you and me who have acted and reclaimed their health and fitness. We all love a success story, especially if the person is facing the same challenges we are. Hearing real success stories helps inform, motivate, and inspire us to live a healthier life. On other shows like today's, we focus on health and fitness industry professionals who share how they help their clients who are over 50 achieve their goals. What many people don't realize is the physiological impact that scars can have on their bodies, whether it's a minor scar earned by falling off a tricycle at age 4, a high school football injury, or a C-section scar sustained during the birth of a child. Many people suffer chronic pain over the years whose problem can be traced back to a scar they had forgotten they'd even had. While not every scar presents a problem, many do. My guest today explains how scars can compromise our health and well-being and how he helps his patients get relief in as little as one session. My guest today is Mike Lim, owner of Advanced Pain Rehab. Mike has been a physical therapist for over 20 years, specializing in sports injuries, geriatrics, and pain management. Mike is a Master Pain Practitioner and pain relief expert treating concussions, injuries, pain, and scars using Voila Method and MPS therapy, a drug-free and needless acupuncture technique with microcurrent technology delivering 80% or better relief. Thank you, Mike, for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Phil.
Okay, now, Mike, you tend to attract a very specific kind of client. Can you talk about the types of people that you work with and the challenges that they're facing?
See, the types of people that end up looking for me are those who have been desperate enough to give it a shot because they've tried from chiros to acupuncturists and massage and even physical therapists for years. And these are not the typical people who's worked with them for a month or two, but even after 5 years, they've tried different things and they get frustrated. And these are the kind of crowd that I've been drawing in to my practice, Phil.
And what are some of the specific ailments that, because you have a wide variety of things that you treat, but what are some of the more common things that issues or challenges, health challenges are facing that bring them to you?
Say somebody might be complaining of chronic hip and sciatic issues, and they've tried different modalities and therapies, and this goes on for years, but they couldn't figure out why. And most of the reasons is just that they're kind of stuck on a fight or flight scenario where their nervous system has struggled to be able to handle that kind of issue. You know, our body is meant to heal itself, but for that case, there has been an ongoing stress in the body that the body can't just rebalance itself, usually due to scar tissues that they've built in the past and creating structural stress. And if you don't free up that scar tissue, the body will go back to its original stressed state. So basically, people keep going circles. And so it's by looking at the whole picture why the back got messed up.
Okay, so if people have some injuries and they have some scars and they have lingering chronic pain, and they've tried lots of different things and it hasn't worked, so they get frustrated. But there's a two-part question. One is, how does the scar tissue that you're talking about, how does that impact or cause the pain and affect the quality of a person's life? And then how do you go about relieving those issues?
So scar tissues influence pain levels because if you know that our body is covered by skin, and beneath our skin is the fascia, and fascia is highly sympathetic. That means sympathetic fiber is fight or flight. So any trauma to the fascia creates an upregulation or overactivity of the sympathetic system. That means a person's nervous system will be on fight or flight with a surgery. So more surgeries on a person means more stress, increased cortisol. Increased stress means increasing sensitivity to pain. And that's why there's this up regulation and there's an increase in pain levels. In addition to that, scar tissues also create a pull. There's a lot of tension, say an abdominal adhesion or a C-section or abdominal surgery creates shortening of the muscles in the front, causing postural change. So scars are created regularly by surgeons every day, and not knowing that they are creating long-term effects in stress to the body. Relieving scar tissues is an easy thing when you have the right tools and modalities. One of which is using microcurrent. Microcurrent, specifically DC microcurrent under millions of an amp. Because we got two kinds of currents, the alternating current and a DC current, a direct current. Now, in order for DC current to be therapeutic, it has to be under millions of an amp. And because our cells are very electrical, we need to repolarize these cells that have been damaged and depolarized from trauma and surgery. So by injecting or repolarizing these cells start to volumize and let go of these adhesions, causing like a permanent release of scar tissues. And that's why when I offer scar release treatments, I say this is just a one and done deal and you should be good for life. You know, it's a very strong word.
Yeah. Now let me dig in a little bit. You talk about depolarizing cells. For the layman,
Yeah.
what does that mean, and how do you do it? And then when you do it, why does it cause the result that you get?
So if you don't know that our body is very electrical, and if the very foundation of our body structure is the cell, and if you learned in grade school that cells have protons, neutrons, and electrons, and if you damage these cells, then the cell becomes imbalanced. So when you introduce microcurrent under millions of an amp into these cells, the cells start to regenerate and heal and start to function. Because by introducing the microcurrent into the tissue, into these cells, there's an increase in ATP production, which is metabolism. There's an increase in protein synthesis and cell membrane transport. So if you can get these cells to start to function again, the body is going to start to live and heal. So that's why microcurrent is very important in the healing of the body, in restoring function to the nervous system.
Okay, so what you're in effect doing is getting the cells to start function the way they were designed to function, so that
Yes.
those cells in that part of the body can start healing itself, and which will then start giving motion, mobility, and the flow of blood throughout that area, so that the pain dissipates or goes away very quickly and very permanently, because the blockage, the scar tissue, has been freed up. Is that
right? So scar tissues, adhesions are a byproduct of, like a balloon. If you deflate a balloon and if you don't inflate it, it becomes sticky to where it's going to be attached. So by re-inflating that balloon, your cells, that comes off its cohesiveness into the other tissues, allowing them to start being more pliable. So healthy cells are very pliable, unhealthy cells are very tight. That's where you can feel traumatic tissues are tight, injured tissues are tight, scar tissues are all tight. but when you hold on to a soft tissue, a normal tissue, they all glide well. In a very simple side-by-side comparison.
Okay, so Mike, maybe for our listeners, you can kind of describe what a session with you might entail so they can begin to understand how you're able to deliver, not only these sustainable results, but these very quick results, one, maybe 2 sessions, and the issues and the pain is relieved.
So when people come in to see me, I usually ask, what their problems are and how long they've been having these problems, because not only would a person have back pain, they might be stuck on that back pain for years, and years of back pain means chronic stress to the nervous system. So I just, and if people have tried working with different practitioners and they say, oh, it's just too sensitive for my back, that means the back has gone into a very sensitive state. That also means that the nervous system is very sensitive. That means it's been on overdrive. So my first approach would be, how can I find the stressors that's causing things to go haywire? Why is the nervous system stressed? So I have to find these stressors in order for the body to heal. I just don't go straight to the low back or straight to a hip or a shoulder because that's where they're coming in for. I have to find, how can I calm this body down for the body to start healing better? So some stressors would include scar tissues. I already talked about. Emotions are also stressors. The neck is also a high stressor. To sacral imbalance is a stressors. Mental stressors. There's so many stressors that we need to take down for the body to start to heal. And that's the holistic approach. You just, you don't go things through a mechanical approach like how westernized Western medicine practices.
Mike,
so that's how I see things.
Yeah, maybe you could give an example of an actual client that you work with that would demonstrate how identifying it. They came in and present an issue maybe about their knee or their back, but the stressor is located somewhere else, so that they can start to see the correlation between the pain, the root cause, and your process for identifying it and treating it.
An example would be a case yesterday. He is like a 34-year-old man where he complains of neck pain. Every time he turns his neck to his left, it would hurt. And this has been ongoing for the last year, since October of last year. So meaning it's been more than a year. He could not turn his neck without hurting it. And based on his other complaints, well, he didn't complain other things, because a guy usually does not complain. They ignore things, especially if you're an athlete. But he also mentioned that he has a mid-upper back tightness, and that was a red flag for me, because having such upper back tightness in the thoracic spine would also indicate there is some stress going on with the suboccipital space underneath the head, which also led me to ask deeper questions such as, do you feel too hot or too cold? And he mentioned that he was too hot all the time, and he loved this weather because he feels better with this cold weather, being his body being hot all the time. But that's not normal. Our body should not be hot all the time or too cold all the time. That means there's an imbalance to the nervous system. So given those little hints and red flags, that led me to work on his stress. So I had to bring down his stress levels by releasing his sutures in his head, releasing his spine. And just by releasing stress, his tension to his neck muscles and his back muscles subsided, even without working on his neck directly. That made it easier for me to address his neck after the session was done for stress. So it's not just a neck, as you see. There is a bigger picture behind a neck issue. That's why he struggled to heal with his neck, because the tension never let go due to a stress component to it. He's tried chiros and different therapists for months at a time, and physical therapy could calm it down, but it just comes back quickly. Other signs of stress would include tension to the head, scalp is tight, dry skin, too cold, too hot, feeling foggy, driving at night, or cell phones or TV and light seems bright or glaring or overwhelming. Those are those signs. When people feel uncoordinated and imbalanced and they feel like they're not grounded when they're walking, those are signs, because our body is governed by our nervous system. So it means organs also become dysfunctional. Skin, temperature, balance, vision, hearing, even eye floaters. I Google YouTube like eye floaters, and everybody have different opinions, but none of them ever talk about stress. By fixing the nervous system imbalance, eye floaters go away. And that's how I say I can fix your floaters in 1 or 2 sessions, because it is all nervous system related. Your nervous system governs your whole body's function. But a Western medicine would always look at one issue, one symptom for a specific doctor, right? And another symptom for another doctor, and they never talk to each other too. So
I find it unique that most, if not all, of your assessment work that you do with your clients is done by phone. Why is that important, and how does that benefit your clients?
I seem to have the gift of intuition and a bit of foresight, because it's like a blessing. God has blessed me with this intuition on being able to picture out how things are presented by their description and by their complaint. And if people have busy lives, busy workspaces and families, and for them to come and see me and just to talk to me about their problems, that's a lot of time lost for them and for me. Their time is valuable. My time is valuable. I save them time. And I don't even charge for these assessments, because and if you probably have experience visiting doctors, they charge for every visit. They charge for just to talk and to spend time with them. I mean, I'm trying to save people time and money and just being natural, and once the assessment is done over a phone call, when they come over, it's all a treatment, and it's all there. And as I'm treating them, they can bring up the other things that they might have missed. But for most part, I keep it very simple in my practice. How can I get your body to come down off its own stressors so that the body can start healing? And then the problem should be easily addressed. An example, carpal tunnel, and if this lady says, I've got carpal tunnel and shoulder problems, and then I ask, have you had any surgeries in the past? And typically they'd say they've had a C-section scar. Okay. Now, why does a C-section create carpal tunnel? Is that the first time you've heard, Phil?
That's the first time I've heard that. Yes, it is.
All right. So imagine a C-section. Where is it located? It is located suprapubic. That means just at the level of your sacral tailbone, sacrum. So if scar tissues strain organs and fascia beneath them, then the sacrum is already tilting posteriorly towards the scar tissue. So if a person is slouching, because posterior tilt is also called slouching, then the neck shifts forward. If your neck is moving forward, it usually interferes with C6 and C7 on your cervical area, which entraps that nerve, causing weakness to the muscles being supplied by C6, C7. Now, if a muscle does not get enough power from the neck because there's trapment of a nerve, then the muscles tighten up because they have to work harder. Continuous tension to a muscle pulls on tendons. And if the tendons keep getting pulled, they thicken over time, and thickened tendons on a tunnel, on your carpal tunnel, that does not change unless you had traumatic injury to the tunnel, leads to pinching of the nerve, on the ulnar nerve, on the median nerve. It's called carpal tunnel. So it's no brainer that a tendon thickens due to constant tension from the neck. You correct the neck, you correct the carpal tunnel. But the neck didn't get in that position in the first place, all because of a scar down below. And that's why women with C-section scars usually will always have like hip tightness, IT band tightness, to plantar fasciitis. They will also have a shoulder issue and wrist issues, and it keeps getting progression. There's a progression to that. You see what I mean? And not only do scars affect structure, what is behind a C-section scar are large bowels. The large bowel is just right beneath it. So most of them will also have IBS, bowel issues. They struggle with bowel issues because the bowels are being stressed and strained because of that scar tissue. That's just a C-section scar. Can you imagine a bigger surgery on the belly can create digestive issues? No?
No, I can see that. And it's the thing that I've come to realize over the years and treatments that I've had is that the body will adapt perfectly, even to an imperfect environment. So if I put a lift in my one shoe and I walk around with one leg higher than the other, it would force my body to adapt so I could walk, but it would cause problems throughout my body. And if I did that over time, those structural misalignments would cause more and more complicated issues. So I could treat the symptom of what I'm presenting, or I can go down to what's causing them in the first place. And that's, for me, that's kind of a simplistic way of understanding the body's always looking for a way to adapt. And if it, and it does, if you don't treat that underlying cause, it will continue to adapt inappropriately. Or,
agree, yeah.
It's perfect for the body, but it may not be for the long-term overall structure.
Right.
But what I find is interesting, contrast, when I see a doctor, whether it be a specialist or they're always apologizing for spending half the time typing in their codes and not even facing me, not treating me. They'll ask questions, type it in, ask questions, type it in. So if I see them for 15 minutes, 8 or 9 minutes is spent, on the computer, as opposed to actually trying to, treat the issues and stuff like that. And that's kind of what our healthcare system has done. Whereas your sessions last, 90 minutes? And it's mostly 90% of that is treatment.
Everything is almost hands-on on that 90 minutes. So initially, when I started my practice, it was like 30 minutes. But I found that 30 minutes was not fixing the whole body itself, but just the complaint. So I stretched it out to an hour. An hour seems great, but there was a little bit of a rush because there's more complaints a person might bring in, not just for a back. So 90 minutes was a sweet spot. And for me, it's almost like fixing a break job where you don't want people to come back for a second session to finish your break job. You want to get the whole job done and not waste their time. And so I see a maximum for like 5 people a day, but these 5 people are getting quality time and quality outcomes. But there are a few cases that I just wanted to share that would require mechanical intervention, such as stenosis, because no matter how well I can rebalance the spine and the nervous system, but if a nerve is trapped and it's like choked at the stenosis area, there's little I can do and people can do other than go in and do it, right?
Right.
So that's just an honest share that, sometimes you just got to get to the bottom as to why there is a hip issue. But it's the ultimate conservative method that people will try before they go for radical procedures, let's just say.
Okay. Now, Mike, there's a lot of people that would love to achieve the kind of results that you provide your clients, but they don't. What's the biggest obstacle holding people back?
One of the obstacles is insurance. They tend to rely heavy on insurance. Like, hey, you take insurance, and I say, not for a 90-minute to a 2-hour procedure, and basically that turns them off. So these are the typical people who has not tried everything, so they're not willing to spend to help themselves. But in the long run, they still end up spending more, because if they lose time working on different therapies, that's time away from work. If they pay co-pays for their insurance, with nowadays that the deductibles are so high, they end up spending a ton of money on those. But if I can get their issues addressed in 2 sessions, and that's worth their time. And so people who has tried different things, they are willing to pay for this cash basis, where they have nothing to lose, basically. And the worst thing that can happen here is, nothing happens. Nothing worse will happen.
Okay. And so people are looking and say, what's it cost me not to be able to play tennis, play golf, pick up my grandkids, garden, do all the things that I love. I can't do now because I have of this pain. So what's the price tag you put on that? And that's, how long do you want to not be able to do that? And
so the price range, the price tag for fixing a problem for a 90-minute session is $300. And for December, I have launched like $100 off on all sessions for every session. So it really saves them a bunch for $200 to fix their problems. And I might extend this promo all the way till the end of January, I think, since there is an event coming in January where I'll be part of. So otherwise, it's typically $300. And if they get a group rate, like a 2-session or 3-session package, there's always a good discount thrown in, because they are committed to helping themselves.
That's good to know. Now, when people hear terms like holistic and alternative medicine, they hesitate because they have misconceptions they have about those approaches. What are some of the biggest misconceptions people have, and how do you help them understand the reality that those approaches provide?
Well, nowadays, anyone who doesn't use medicine will consider themselves holistic and alternative, which is kind of accurate. But when I say myself holistic, it means seeing the whole body as one, fixing every problem in the body to get the whole body working functionally. So one of the barriers that people misconception, right? That was your question.
Right.
Is like, how can you get my body? One of their issues is like, how can you fix my body without medicine? Or how can you fix my body without adjustment or manipulation? Or how can you correct my issues if I've tried these doctors? And so we are so groomed with the Western approach, where in fact, before the 1930s, everything was a lot holistic until the revolution of the medical practice through pharmacology. So it is emerging, the holistic ways. And I see more and more people who are not taking pain medicine, and they opt for natural stuff. And these are the crowd that have been finding me. So it's all about open-mindedness and willing to give it a try, that people will be open to the holistic approach. Bill.
Now, what are some of the biggest advantages of a holistic approach versus the drugs and surgery approach to pain treatment?
Well, that's an easy question. So if you're approaching things holistically, that means naturally, the worst thing that can happen is nothing will go further wrong. Let's just say, can't get worse. But if you introduce a foreign substance, such as medicine, such as surgery, there are more stress involved with these chemicals, and and procedures that creates an upregulation or stress to the nervous system. So the deeper the stress a person has, the more reaction they have to another surgery or medicine introduced to their body. But if you give this person holistic approach, say massage or acupuncture or my microcurrent, for example, the best thing their body can receive is something calming and soothing to the nervous system to influence healing. The microcurrent, however, has shown the biggest and the strongest effect of calming to the nervous system. And that's why it has worked for me. And that's why I say it's a very challenging word to say in the medical field of guaranteed pain relief. But, if I can manipulate the nervous system through natural means, then the body can heal. So that's why the worst thing that can happen is nothing just happens with holistic medicine.
And then the best outcome is that you get relief, and it's sustainable or permanent because the root cause has been eliminated and the body continues to heal unless another stress comes in or stressor comes into the body to create a similar challenge. The body's going to continue to heal itself and function. And the more it does that, the better it is. So the question I have is you've been in this for a while. So what started you on your path to pain rehab?
Well, I grew up in the Philippines, and I used to get sick, and we have these healers from the suburbs where we call them, and we pick them up and we drive them to our homes, and they work on me, and the next day I'm better. It's like magic, and I wanted to be that, and that led me to this physical therapy career that I've been in for 21 years. And being in the physical therapy world, I get to learn different seminars, and I met and encountered this microcurrent MPS therapy about 6 years ago, and just dove right into it, where it was just amazing how I can get to calm down the nervous system to influence healing. Being in the home care, I see everyone being in stress. So that got me right into this profession of being in the healing industry. And because the healing rate and the recovery rate of my home care visits was just too fast for home care agencies to not like me, because more visits means more money for them, then that allowed me to start my own practice on the getting people better business, and that's how I got into this advanced pain rehab practice here in Crystal Lake.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you're going to be at an event coming up in January. Can you tell us a little bit about the event and what they can expect, both of the event and of your table and your participation? So
January 25th, 2020, there is this event in Crystal Lake at the Holiday Inn. It's a Healthy New You. There are a lot of holistic and practitioners and vendors that are going to be part of this event, and I'll be there. Great show to share to everybody, so everybody gets to know and meet the practitioners around them, that they can receive help that they've been looking for. My booth will have all-day demonstration, no charge. I don't charge on my events. If you want to get a demo on Voila, microcurrent, or natural healing, energy medicine, you're going to get a taste of that. If you got shoulder issues, you will see the relief immediately within 3 minutes or 2. Lots of moving treatments, but I don't charge, Phil. I see a lot of practitioners charge during these events, and I just seem not to feel that way. I want to give. So
it sounds like a great event. If I understand, it's a family event. There'll be things there for for all members of the families to go to. It's a health and fitness expo that will have speakers and events and demos, and it is a great way to get face to face and meet practitioners and to try out things, to say, is this really for me? And to find out firsthand, especially with someone like you that will say, hey, I'll show you in a few minutes. I'll demonstrate the kind of impact I can have on your health and wellness. And so then they can make a very educated decision about whether this is something they want to pursue in terms of dealing with some other specific health issues. So that's great to know. Besides the expo, if someone wants to get in touch with you or learn more about your practice or to set up an appointment, where should they go?
So I have a website, and Facebook. So it is advancedpainrehab.com. So advanced with a D, www.advancedpainrehab.com. And in Facebook, it's also Facebook/Advanced Pain Rehab. It has a chat form, a chat button on the bottom right. You can chat with me directly, or you can send out a form and write down your complaints, and I will give you answers, and I will get in touch with you, and I can give you solutions and the reason why you're in pain. So I can do it without giving you a hard time, and I will narrow things down for you, even if you don't have to see me.
Well, that's great, Mike. I appreciate your time and your passion and your willingness to getting people better. This is a great catchphrase. But if you're someone out there and you want to start moving better, feeling better, and pain-free, and you want someone that will look at the total picture of what you're dealing with, I suggest you give Mike a call. So, Mike, thank you for being on the show, and you have a great day.
Thank you, Phil, for having me, and have a great day too, Phil.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Never Too Late for Fitness Radio, hosted by Phil Ferris. To learn more about the guests or resources on our show today, or to listen to past episodes, go to nevertoolateforfitness.com.